You know, when you get the fresh dye job, that's what this is.
So pretty.
It just is what it is. Like, I can't fix
Beautiful
it.
hair.
It is what it. Thank you. She's so good for my ego. All right, Dylan, I know you're rolling, right? Sorry, thank you. Do you have any idea how much this means to me that you said yes? Like, I knew you a long time before you know me, and that's the story of my life, and that's how it should be. But like, going back to The View and back to like how you've handled so much adversity. So now we're friends, but the fangirl thing can still happen even if you love somebody, right?
Well, I would say yes to you. If you were like, Megan, I'm filming in Antarctica and I need you to come for the weekend, I would get on a plane. I'd be like, to my husband, I'd be like, I'm going to the Arctic for a little bit with Sage.
I'm going to kill her, but I'm going to the Arctic.
But I have to say, like, I am very protective of my peace, of my energy, of people I allow around me. Like in general, I think it's just like being in politics for 10,000 years. And when I first met you in person, I was like, this woman has the most, as Vanessa, our friend who's here, I said, she has the most spectacular energy I have encountered in so long. You are such a bright light of a person. Tulsi and I call you a sparkle of a person. That's what we call you. And I was like, our mutual friend Tulsi Gabbard, sorry, whatever, not to like name drop, but you're good friends with her as well.
Yes, yeah.
And you're just like the most, you are such a blessing in my life.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
so happy to know you. You make me feel less alone in the world.
Oh
I'm
my,
so
okay,
happy
now
to
she's
be
gonna
here.
make me cry from the beginning of the show. Where's the Kleenex? Thank you.
You do. You're just, I wish I like I mean, everybody knows that anyway, because you have this like incredible reputation. Everybody loves you, but like, you're just someone who brings positivity and light and joy in the world in a time of like such darkness and division. Yeah, it's such a gift.
We are choosing to do that. It doesn't mean we don't stand up and get feisty when we need to, as
Totally.
we absolutely should for ourselves and for others. That's what I've learned so much, is that like we are representing so many people who are still fearful and scared and have been silenced and cornered. So that is kind of our job right now, but it is a choice. And I think that that's important, as your kids are much younger than mine. They have to see that this isn't just smooth sailing. Like, we got to choose to do the right thing. And that's what you've done. That's why I will always fangirl.
I always say I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I'm also a fighter, so watch it. Like, I always am like, I am your best friend, but if you're like, you know, horrible to me, I'll be your like nightmare from hell. It's your choice.
You are such a
very
fighter.
Scorpio of me.
Yes, and I'm a Sag, I might be behind you. But when I mean, again, before we met, when I would just watch you on Twitter, I'm like, oh, there she goes. Oh, there she goes. Bye, Megan. And when you start dropping F-bombs, like it is necessary, and it inspires me.
You're much classier than I am. I try and be classy, but I definitely have this like very trashy Scottsdale side to me that still just never goes away, that my husband still loves, thank God. But like, I just want to thank you too, because like getting to know you has just been like such a wonderful thing in my life. And like, you're just such a great,
thank you.
And I know like people are probably like, stop having a love fest, but this industry, this world, media, politics, 90% of the time it's competitive, it's ugly.
Yes.
People are mean to each other. You know, people just like, it brings out a lot of bad stuff in people. And to like be around you and so many of these like amazing women I've gotten to meet in the past like few years. It's just like, it brings so much like joy in my life.
And exact same thing. By the way, in DC, first time ever taping here at the Rumble Studios. And that's whatever it takes to get to Megan. But the point is, in DC, like, you are in that potential cesspool. Feels like it's getting a little friendlier around here since November 5th.
I like the vibe here right now.
So you've been here since when?
I came in 2020, right when COVID started. Because we came here
you came from New York.
Yeah, I was in New York.
Yeah. And so do you feel like it has changed here, the vibe? I mean, it's only a couple months, but.
So I feel, and I have been told, that like the vibe of DC switches with each administration's personality. And with Biden, for me, it felt very old, very like things going, like closing at 7:00. Like very like his personality really like set the tone of a lot of things. Like not a lot of parties. Democrats don't like to have fun. You know, they don't like, you know, socialize, I think the same way conservatives do. And that's not just stereotype. I think it's actual fact from my experience in life. And I think it's like Trump. It's like a little more wild. Like there's more crazy stuff going on. There's a secret club. Well, it's not secret, but there's like a members only club where like senators are fighting with each other and it's like coming out on gossip columns. Like it's definitely like more energy and younger. It feels like much more like the city's like full of energy and excitement again. And like a little bit of like wouldn't say like danger, but just like what's going to happen next type of mentality. And I really like from a vibe perspective, I'm like really enjoying what the Trump administration has brought to the city.
I absolutely feel it, and I'm not here nearly enough, but we're going to change that. You mentioned the younger vibe, and look at Caroline Leavitt, and she's 27 years old,
Crazy
which is
she's that young.
Insanity.
Do you know what I was like at 27?
Me too. It's embarrassing.
I was like a feral animal. And I look back on like things I did and said at that age, which by the way is like a grownish person. But like I was like sort of like really rebellious for a really long time when I was like in my 20s and just didn't like, I was not, to say that I could not have done that job is like putting it very mildly. She's really very impressive.
Oh, so impressive. I feel dumber when I'm around her for sure.
I was around her yesterday.
You haven't?
No, I would meet her, but like, yeah, it's like.
No, but I think you guys would
I'm not
get
like
along.
hanging out at the White House.
I know, but still.
She seems like much more mature for her. Like she like carries herself as someone who's like much older than 27.
So confident.
She was snapping at oh my God, what's her name on CNN? I'm so sorry.
Wait, was it yesterday?
Caitlin
was Caitlin Collins.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Caitlin Collins was like, I have a follow-up. And she was like, I'm not taking your follow-up. And I was like, oh my God, slay. Like, I love, like, tell her. Because, like, why the hell does Caitlin Collins get a follow-up? CNN with your 6 viewers? Like, why do you get a follow-up? Why are you the only one? When I was the day after we went to the White House, like she was the same thing, like asking questions. And I'm like, I just don't understand why she gets all this airtime in the spin room and around the president when like her network is trash. And like, she's like respectfully, like, you know, like I'm not that impressed with her work. Like not to be nasty, but like, I was just like, of course, Carol, good. Tell her you need to ask questions from people that are going to ask questions that aren't just bait and clickbait for CNN.
Exactly. And not telling the entire truth.
Yeah.
And that's what she and many of them are good at, but she's got that front row seat, I guess, because she's, you know, on a quote unquote major network. But it was interesting because once Caroline shut her down and said, I'm not taking your follow-up, there was someone in the back that asked a question and he said, just for a follow-up. And she goes, go ahead. And then the camera was still on Caitlin and Caitlin was like,
yeah.
I'm thinking, and I was in that room one time when I was in the new media seat. It was actually
I was so excited.
Super Bowl. Oh, it was insane.
Said that. I
Megan.
felt like you're like cheerleader. I was like, oh my God, Sage is she's the new media seat.
I was laughing. I'm like, what the hell has happened to my life? What am I doing right now? This is hysterical. But nerve-wracking. It is. There's high pressure in that room. And so to Caroline, when I watched her, I was with her beforehand. You know, she gathers her team right before she walks out there and says a prayer. And to me, the fact that like at that age, every staffer I believe on her team is 30 or under. And so
that's wild. I'm 40 and I feel like I'd be like, oh, like, you know.
You know what? Somehow, for some reason, no idea why, my name was thrown out there that as far as the press secretaries after he won. And I'm like,
you would have been really good too, though.
No, I would not have. I would have fallen on my face daily, 100%. And I don't have the knowledge, that depth as far as knowledge with policies and how it all works. And you know what? I don't want it. I'm okay with that. That's not what my lane is. So then knowing I never would have taken it. And again, I don't know, it probably wasn't even real. But to sit in that seat then and watch her do it, I'm laughing. I'm like, literally, there's no way. I need to just go back to talking about football if we're going to do that, which I don't want to do that either. So I'm just so impressed with how she does it and how she chooses to let faith guide her. And again, at 27, I wasn't in that place either. But I think big picture, look at this. You've got 2 women uplifting this young woman. She's half my age, literally. And that's what I feel like has been missing. Like when you go back to your time at The View, for example. I'm sorry, PTSD.
People are always curious.
Well, but it just goes back to, that's what it takes me to, because I remember the 4 times I was on the show. And like,
did you host 4 times?
4 times. Yeah. The last time was in 2014. And oh my gosh, Whoopi was always super nice. Sherry Shepherd was nice. Jenny McCarthy was nice. Barbara Walters was not.
Shepard? Who's that?
Sherry Shepherd.
Oh, Sherry Shepherd. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm slurring my words, and I swear I have not had a glass of wine yet.
No.
But most of them were nice. The most powerful one, though, Barbara Walters, I remember being, so disappointed. And then in the industry as a whole, where women will sit there and bitch and moan at men, but then what do we do to each other?
Yeah.
How did you handle that when you were there, when not all women were supportive, if that's a fair way to say it?
You know, everyone's always curious about The View, and I get it, because it's like this iconic show, and there's there haven't been that many like true conservatives on the show. I think it's just me and Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
Yeah.
And I think I get why people are interested. It's like a piece of pop culture. I had a particularly like tumultuous time there, which people are always curious about too. You know, I was disappointed in the beginning because
look, I don't know your exact situation, but if you're like the thousands of homeowners American Financing talks to every single month, you are struggling to keep up. I mean, barely making ends meet, drowning in high interest debt. And it's not your fault. Life got more expensive, right? Inflation, it hit hard. And if you're still carrying credit card balances with 20% plus interest rates while your mortgage sits untouched, you're ignoring the one thing that could turn it all around, your home. And this is where American Financing can help. Answer this. Would you trade 10 minutes for a shot at saving an average of $800 every single month? Because that is exactly what homeowners are doing when they call American Financing. It really is simple. Trust me, it's a simple, no obligation call that could change everything. They have a team of salary-based mortgage consultants. So there really isn't any incentive to put you into a loan that doesn't make any sense. And there are no upfront fees to find out how much you can save. So do not wait. Call American Financing today and start feeling that relief. 866-886-9262. That's 866-886-9262 or americanfinancing.net/sage.
you come onto an ensemble show and you expect, despite political differences, because like part of the gig is like there's going to be people you disagree with. That's supposed to be the premise of the show. And I think I was just surprised and that there was so much negativity, there was so much hostility, and that it wasn't just on camera, it was behind the camera. But at the same time, I had come from Fox News before and I had co-hosted a show called Outnumbered with Harris Faulkner. And I had all these women at Fox who were like, still to this day, like Harris and Kat Timpf and Kennedy and Dagan McDowell, like people who are just always so supportive, real sisterhood. So I actually relied on them a lot for support. And while
you were at The View.
While I was at The View.
Interesting.
I mean, I used to call Harris Faulkner crying like probably more than, and she's like one of the most spectacular women I've ever met in my life.
Really? I've never met her.
Harris Faulkner is what every woman in media and the country should be. She is. I co-host a show with her. Immediately, I had like been co-hosting for a while, like and seeing if I would be a good fit. And when they announced it, when she found out, she like immediately took me out to lunch, went to dinner with her husband, like said like, I'm here to support you. I'm here. We're going to make a good show together. She's also like a very prayerful Christian woman. We prayed together, like and then so supportive afterward. I talked to her about like motherhood, if I wanted to have a baby or not, like just forever so supportive. And then when I was at The View, always gave me even like advice about like doing stuff on the camera, because she's still to this day like the most incredible live reader I've ever seen in my life, like to this day, and give me like advice on like the professional part of my job, and then just like the how to deal with like the adversity of the job. And I'm so glad she's like sort of gotten the real attention and flowers in this industry in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years or so, you know, that I always thought she should have, because she's just like one of the most special people I've ever met. Like, I really can't say enough nice things about her. She's always the person I'm like, you want to host with her. You want to like be on air with her, because she is a woman who truly supports other women, and still to this day does to me. Like, we're still good friends.
Yeah. I think that support system is something I certainly missed in sports.
Yeah.
You know, and then tried
sports
to.
seems really intense. I mean,
it is. I mean, there were so few women at first when I first, 95 graduated from college. So there was like nobody. And then becoming a young mother while you're in this all male world, and like locker rooms and NFL team charters, planes, like I remember having a baby, and then 8 weeks later, if I wanted the job, I had to be at work full time.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
To cover an NFL team, it was here in Baltimore. And
how did you even do that?
I don't know. Like, I don't remember a lot. I think plus I had, like when my third was born, my first was still 3, and I was on TV here. And so I don't remember much, but I remember being on a charter plane once and like trying to pump in the lavatory. And then I'm walking out with, your liquid gold. And I'm like, and the guy's like, ew. I'm like, you idiot.
Oh,
and so, I mean, it was hysterical at the time. And I was, one of the guys, but like, I remember feeling so lonely. And then a few more women came in, and I thought, okay, I got to make sure that's our job. Let's make sure that other women don't feel lonely. Don't feel the way that we have at times.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's getting better based on, obviously now you're a veteran in the industry versus back in the day at Fox News, et cetera?
I feel like there's so many incredible women that I meet that I just like, for me in my life, like I'm not a gatekeeper. Like if someone needs help, I will put them in touch with whatever they need, just because like people throughout my entire career were like, you're a spoiled Nepo baby, like go to hell, like you're the worst ever. And like, I didn't have a lot of like, I had help in the sense that like, you know, my dad was famous, so people were more interested in like me for that reason. But I didn't have help in the sense that like I was really hazed a lot. Like I worked at MSNBC very briefly, and like God, that was like a hellscape. And like there were different times in my life until I got to Fox where I was really hazed. Fox was entirely different. I had a wonderful experience when I worked at Fox. And then I think it is changing a lot, because again, like there's like women I meet that I just like in this industry that are doing so amazing. I just always want to cheerlead, always want to support. Like I want people to do better. But I do think there's still this like ugliness to media in general. Like the women who are always calling me fat, like people who are calling me fat are always women. It's always women, and it's always women in media.
Exactly.
And I don't get it.
What is that?
I don't know, because I'm no angel. Look, I certainly have had my moments in life. I try and be a good Christian woman. I really try and like, you know, think about what I say, certainly pop off. Like I still have like fire, but I really, really try not to intentionally hurt someone.
Yeah.
And I don't think that grace is given not only to me, but to like a lot of other women as well. And I hope someday that these like the younger kids coming up are not going to be in an environment where it's accepted.
Right.
That makes sense.
I do. I mean, there's been a lot more talk about that and bullying, and that is certainly subjective at times. But well, yeah, and like the Candace Owens thing, and with her on her platform, and what she said about you, and be obese or whatever her phrasing was, like to me, you know what that is?
She's denying it, and like I don't. The thing about her is like she is a superstar. Like she is a juggernaut in this industry.
What do you mean she's denying it? Like there's tape.
There is, but she's saying like I don't even really need to get into it, but like she's saying that it was about like me and the vaccine and Trump's vaccine. It doesn't matter. But I think that like, you know, I think I'm sick of fighting with. I'm 40. I have 2 kids. You know, I just recently talked about how I've had 3 miscarriages, and I had a recent one like 6 months ago, and I just have so many things in my life that are really important, and I like to stay in this like I like to stay in positivity as much as I can, and I really don't want to get into petty dumb bullshit fights with people because I'm old, and also I'm fucking clickbait. Like if you get in a fight with me, it'll be all over the internet, and I'm sick of giving people my attention,
that energy, and then giving their gross platform more than they deserve. I will say this, because with the women thing and all, I remember one time coming off of SportsCenter, and I hosted with a woman that I had really looked up to. I was new there.
Sure. And
a woman I'd looked up to for years, and she was awful on the air and off. And I remember getting in the car and almost in tears, because it's someone that I had up here, you know, and I called my mom, and she said, you know, this has nothing to do with you. This is her problem, and whatever is in her life that's going on, maybe it's simply insecurity, because Meghan McCain is talented, and Meghan McCain made some really great freaking points, and so if we can't combat those points or prove her wrong, we're going to go another way and make it personal, which Candace, whoever it is, it doesn't even matter. That's gotten me through a lot, where it's like, okay, this isn't actually about me. If you feel the need to go that low, that's on you.
I also feel like for me, because I've been fat shamed like my entire career, like since I was like the first time anyone ever talked about my weight, I was like 22. And I remember Keith Olbermann did a show with Joel McHale, the actor, and they were ranking how hot I am, and like talking about my weight, because like someone had called me fat on TV, and it like went early, got a ton of attention in like the early parts of my career. And I always think like, you know, I've like women who come up to me are like women who tend to like me and follow my work are like normal women.
Yes.
And normal women a lot of times have had babies, maybe don't have time to work out everywhere, like maybe don't ever like they don't, everybody is a different body size in different ways. But one thing I always think is like, if you're calling me fat, imagine a fan of yours who maybe has like just had a baby or whatever and like isn't feeling great about their body, and they think that you think they're fat too. Like, that's the thing I never understand is like, you're not just hurting me, you're hurting women who admire you. And it's not just like, there's many people who have done this over the years. And I don't understand why me being happy, I am healthy, I go to the doctor every 6 months because I'm like a little bit of a hypochondriac. I think anyone who's lost a parent to rare cancer. You get like, you're a little whatever, but I'm very healthy. I'm just not a skinny person, and it doesn't bother me, but it seems to really bother other people. I think they're like, why don't you take Ozempic? Why haven't you starved yourself? Like, why don't you? And I think like, I'm so acutely aware of how little time we have in this world. Yes. And like sharing food, like sharing a glass of wine, really living in the way that I like to live. Yeah. I just like, I would rather be spending time with like my husband, my kids, my friends, my family, my work, than be spending like the extra whatever it takes to look like that. Amazing if that's your vibe.
Right.
You know, amazing. And some people do it for like mental health and physical health, and that's great. I just am not ever going to be that person. And I just don't understand why I still don't get why women who are not skinny bother so many people. So I don't get it. It bothers people.
But like you said, the fact that it comes primarily from women who know what that struggle is.
It's always women. It's never
like.
Men. It's like never. I mean, Keith Olbermann is not really a man.
He's not a man. So I can agree on that. But when did you get to that point of not caring?
I have like never fucking cared.
How?
Sage. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's my parents. It's like my mom and my dad were always like, when I was like 20 and 21, I was like, I'm fabulous, like looking like whatever. And it's like, my mom is just such a like, I remember when I was like 16 and I had gained weight and I had a prom dress that I like didn't fit into because we had bought it a few months before. And I was like crying and I was like, what are we going to do? And she's like, we're going to find another one and you look amazing and like whatever. And I think it's just having like really like positive role models around, and it still doesn't bother me the way it does I don't know why. It's not like I'm like, you know, looking so great in a, you know, whatever all the time, but like, I just don't care. And nothing I've ever wanted in life, I haven't been able to get because of my size. I'm not that big. I'm like a size 12 to 14.
Stop saying that.
But like people act always like I'm like, you know, like at 700 pounds, but it's like, I have dated the hottest men you could possibly imagine. I've had the coolest jobs. I'm like multiple Emmy nominated. I was on a show that won an Emmy. I was there like, but everything I want, like, it's okay. Like you can get what you want. You don't have to like fit ideals of people, but like I've never been weird about it. I don't know why. I should be. I've certainly been hazed into it.
Beautiful though, that you've had that strength, because quite often it takes, well, I was probably like early to mid 40s when I finally was like, you know what? That's on you. If you don't like my hair or whatever it is, you don't like who I'm dating or who my husband was, not is, like that, how does that affect you? That's my question. Like, how does your weight, how does any of our things affect that person? It doesn't.
Did you ever feel like being a biracial woman in sports commentary, like, did you ever feel like judged or like people were like saying ugly things about you or whatever? Because like you can't like, you know, sort of downplay your presence in media in that way as well.
I did. I felt almost some pressure because there are many in the Black community who were like, you know, first of all, when they liked me, it was, that's our girl, and you're representing us. But it was an honor. You know, I just never went at it like I want to be, you know, a Black woman on TV to do. It was just, I want to do sports. Yeah. And I happen to be a woman, and I happen to be a woman of color. Like, that's it. And then with success comes what? Comes the hate, you know? But wait, no, arrows. You're really good at, she's really good at like turning the conversation back on someone else because you're an interviewer too. And no, this is about you today.
I'm so interested in, but I've also been able to obviously.
That's for later when we have one.
I've been able to talk to you like obviously off camera about so many things, and we do have like a lot of synergy with feeling kind of like the odd girl out. Not that like I'm obviously not a woman of color, obviously, but like there's definitely synergy with, you know, just feeling like the outcast, like the, and I still don't, I'm so like fascinated by you having to keep your politics, your views private for so long. And then I think the time when you came out publicly, like that was like a dangerous time in the culture. And it was like, I remember when I first like, you know, was reading the things you said and whatever, and I was like, oh my God, this woman is a firebrand, like what a dynamo. But also being like, I remember actually like praying for you because I was like, I know what comes next. Yeah, I pray for people that like, I feel like just because I've been there so much, like if I know that there's like a person out there that's like taking a real stand, like, and it's, I know, we all know what comes next. The cancellation, all the ugliness. And I still like, I don't know, you're very brave, very brave. And you inspire so many people. You don't know
how much that means to me, the prayer part, because that's the only reason I'm standing is because yes, the people who, you know, in my family and close friends, but the people who I probably never will meet, some that I have had the honor to meet, and then others who I never will, like I'm overwhelmed. And I'm sure you experienced that too, where people write and reach out and DMs or through your family. And it's like, thank you, Meghan, thank you. And I'm like, we're not doing anything for praise. It's because you feel like this has to be said because you see others being wronged, whatever it is. I wish that it hadn't taken me so long to find the courage, because finally it did just like diarrhea of the mouth and it all just came out.
What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to speak out, or I'm going to, like, do you remember it like consciously, or did it just happen?
I mean, the speaking out part kind of came in a different way when I decided to file my lawsuit against Disney and ESPN, which I knew was like going to completely blow up my career in that way.
Yeah.
But I knew that I couldn't any longer stay silent, because then I'm a hypocrite.
Did you ever talk to Gina Carano?
I did. Yeah, I had her on my show, and she was great because both canceled by Disney.
Yeah.
There were definitely tears on that show with her. I think we did it last May or June, and it made me. Yes.
Another one. I love her.
That fire that came out of her then. And also with the loss of her best friend is one thing that, which she alluded to the fact that she felt like it could have been from the COVID shot. And the anger associated with that. Yeah. Such courage. And I think that's what, it shouldn't be courageous to do what we're doing, to just speak up and give our opinion. But because of the timing, it has turned into that. But I hope that it doesn't stay this way, where it does take you going, okay, if I say this, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my friends. I'm going to be like whatever.
Socially ostracized.
Yes, it's
like,
real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah. Oh, it's so real. But I also feel like with Trump's win in this era, I do think there's a lot of things shifting and changing because there's such a blowback to so much of this. And like, I feel like you and I, what's cool is like you and I have like street cred. It's like I came out when it was you especially, like, but you came out in this way when it was like very dangerous and very unpopular. Like, it's like a lot more socially acceptable to say I don't want a biological man in my playing against my daughter in sports than it was a few years ago.
Yes.
I mean, it's still like, I still have like Andy Cohen having meltdowns at me on social media now.
That's fun to watch though, because he literally is melting down.
He freaked out. Yeah, it was not great. But it's like, in that space now it's a little easier, but I'm really drawn to people who like in those moments were thinking for themselves. I'm really drawn to those kind of personalities.
It is literally a life-altering turn.
Yes.
Whichever way. Because if you choose to stay silent too, I do feel like you regret it.
I could never.
No.
I could never. I don't know how people do it. And I'm sure because I know, like, a lot of people in entertainment, a lot of people in media who are like, I wish I could say what you say. I wish I could do what you do. And it's like, what's it like leading this life of like falsehoods? And I empathize with people who are like, I have a sick parent. I have to put my kids through school. I have to there are real economic consequences for it. But I just feel like for me, the idea of living an authentic life, I'm not interested in that.
Well, quite often, what do they say though? Oh yeah, but you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about that. And yes, that can be a factor. When I did it, I was recently divorced and 100% responsible financially for my 3 kids and my ex-husband. And right now I have 3 kids in college. Like, it's painful. And there are no guarantees right now financially. That's for darn sure. But I also think for me, and I don't know about you, maybe, like, it did come down to faith. And I just prayed for guidance without knowing. Isn't that the definition of faith? When you continue to take that step forward, even if you don't know what the result is going to be. And I was scared to death.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been scared too, because you don't, there are no guarantees, but like, if you look and if you believe in someone, God made it really clear for me in my darkest time, because I chose to ask him. Yeah. And I didn't ever think I'd get to that point with my faith. And
Yeah.
How much of a role does your faith play? Because I mean, the fact that you say that you're praying for people you've never met, that speaks volumes.
I still do that. Like, not all the time. I'm not like Mother Teresa here. Okay. Like, I like whatever, but there's just certain things that happen with Gina's another example. Like, some friends that I know, other people that maybe I was praying for those astronauts, like, just sometimes it's just some people or stories hit me and I just feel compelled. It's not that hard to add a little tag along at your like end of the night or morning prayer. Like, it's not like, sometimes I just pray for things that makes me feel better. But after my dad died, I had a real crisis of faith, and I was really angry at God, and I stopped going to church, and I was just like, I don't know what the point. I like really didn't know if I even like believed in God anymore. I had like a really hard time because I just didn't understand why my dad got this specific cancer and died as quickly as he did, and it just really me and my family were caregivers to him, and was a very like intimate, hard, horrible process. As anyone knows, if you've been a caregiver for anyone, it's really, really hard. And I just felt like I was losing faith all the time. And then it took time to come back to it after he died. It took like, I don't know, maybe a little, like, I don't know if like a year, like maybe a little more, but like it took my husband really like helping me. It took friends who have big Christian faith and very attached to their faith. And it took my family, but it took a long time. And then there was a certain point that I was like, nothing else is fucking working. Like nothing's working. So what do I do? And I was like, oh, I have to surrender to God. Like that's what I have to do because he knows better. And this is his plan. And I don't understand it, but that's where faith is. Like that's the point is that I'm not supposed to know. I'm not supposed to understand it. And that's where when you're tested. And again, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not like a perfect Christian. I'm so far from it, but I feel much closer to God right now than I ever have. And I think it's like a combination of like having children, also just seeing like every time that I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I need you to help me and guide me. I always see results of some kind. Like I definitely feel like God's with me. And then honestly, having friends in my life who are, real faithful people. I actually was like, not to bring her up again, but like I was talking to Tulsi a few days ago and I was just like, I've had like, you know, I don't love the spring. I don't know what it is. I like don't love the spring. I've just been like feeling a little, I don't, it's so weird. I love the fall and I love the summer. I love the winter.
Spring in DC is pretty too.
Yeah. And like your allergies are everywhere.
With the that's what it is. Those cherry blossoms are pretty, but
I know. And I was just feeling a little like, just like not great. Like I was like, she called me and I was like, I'm just feeling a little weird. And she was telling me that she prays in the morning too, and I should start doing that again. And I was like, because I normally pray at night. Day. Yes, because she does that, and that's how she starts her day. And then I was like, you know what, that's a really good point. And I started doing that again, or I just started doing it since I talked to her, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, I should do this. Yeah, and like I should do this with my girls, like, and it's even just stuff like that. And I think being around people and having people close to me that are really proud of their faith and proud of their relationship with God has been helpful. Not that I don't have friends who are like, you know, like of different, you know, that maybe don't have that relationship with God, or like I know a few people who don't believe in God, and I don't try and judge, but it's nice to have that kind of community of people. That's like a very long answer.
No, it's a beautiful answer. When your dad died, and what year was that again?
2018.
2018. My goodness, how has it been?
Almost 7 years. This August will be 7. It's crazy.
That's incredible.
It's weird.
What is it then that got you out of that dark place when you had lost some faith because of how he suffered?
My husband, my family, friends, therapy. I had to go on medication for a little while because I was just in like very deep throes of grief and depression. And faith and God and praying a lot. Honestly, Arizona, as weird as that sounds, like I'm from Arizona and my family still has a house in Sedona, and I went to Sedona for a while to like heal.
It's such a magical, perfect place.
It really is.
Heal. It is so special.
It is very special. And I think like there's something about the canyons and the desert, and there's a lot of folklore about Sedona too, if you believe in that kind of thing.
Yes, a lot. Yes.
And just like being around like my friends. And I also like, Sage, like I am not, like the other thing is like I am not a victim. And like I like got to this point where I was like, I'm not going to be some sad person walking around that can't enjoy life and be happy again and experience things. And it's not that pain ever like really evaporates. Like grief is very intense and it's always going to be with me. But I was like, this is the last thing my dad would want, is for me to let his death end my life. And so I did get to a point where I'm just like contrarian, and I was like, I'm sick of being sad. Like I'm sick of being this sad, and I got to like do things and be places that make me happy. And part of like me leaving the View, which people still can't believe like why or how I did that. Part of it was like, I was like, this place makes me absolutely miserable. And these are people who make me miserable. And I don't want to do it anymore because life is short. Because what if I get, knock on wood, what if I got some rare cancer and died 14 months later, which is what happened with my dad? Like, I don't want to spend my life doing this. So the gift that came out of my dad's illness is that, Sage, like every day of my life, like, I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here with you. My coffee in the morning makes me happy. Like, driving my kids to school makes me happy. Like, I take happiness and joy in these smallest things, in like the essence of life. I'm so happy I still get to be here because I remember when my dad was diagnosed and we were in Sedona, he was very sick and he was almost 80 when he died. Yeah. And he said, I wish I had another 80 years. That's what I want. I want another 80 years. And like, I still get to be here. I'm 40. I don't know how long I'm going to live, but like life is such a gift and like friendship and sisterhood. And like, I don't know. I just can't get, even when people are being ugly to me, like I kind of have the attention span of a hamster and I'm like, but I want to be happy. And that doesn't mean we don't have bad days and bad weeks and like shit happens, whatever. But as a general whole, I'm a very happy person and I'm very happy to be alive and healthy with my kids and my friends and with people like you and gainfully employed still. Like the fact that I still get to talk for money is such a privilege.
I love it. I love it when you break it down like that because that is what it is. And
I'm a talker. I can just filibuster into this microphone for hours.
I know. It is a gift. And I need to tie you down so you can't go to dinner later because I could talk to you all night. I guess I'm picturing you with your dad for those 14 months. Mm-hmm. And at the end,
it's horrible.
People say, okay, you knew the diagnosis, you knew it was kind of coming. A blessing in some ways because it's not sudden like a car accident and you're able to say what you need to say, whatever, fill in the blank there, I don't know. You knew it was going to happen, I guess, at the end. Do you feel that you said everything you needed to say, you did everything you needed to do? Never enough, I'm guessing. But at the end, how did you feel?
It's never enough. I like for me, like both my parents, like it's just never enough time, and I don't think anyone feels like you ever really get enough. But I will say he knew how much we all loved him. I told him like just so many times what an incredible father he was to me. And especially given the circumstances of his life to be as present and supportive and loving and caring and teaching me so many like lessons in life. Like it's really an incredible thing to pull off, I think. And, the end, I didn't want to have kids for a long time. I was sort of like blue pilled into thinking that like having kids would like hurt my career and it wouldn't be great for my life. And I remember one of the last conversations I had with him was he was like very insistent that I have children. And he said, look at us. And he was like, don't you want this? Like you're going to miss out on like one of the greatest pure joys of life and in every way. And literally it was like the thing that switched it, that I was like, okay, like I do everything he says I should do. So then we should definitely think about having kids soon. And it's never enough though. And I think that like, none of us know how long we have, but Congresswoman Mia Love just passed last week of the same cancer my dad had. And she was 49 and she was, again, such an icon for so many different reasons. First Black Congresswoman, I think ever. And I really was such a fan of hers and such an admirer of hers. And when I found out she had glioblastoma, I was so upset and so sad because the nickname for it is goodbye, motherfucker, GBM.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's a crass, I'm sorry to like swear on your podcast. It's a crass nickname, but it is the nickname in the medical community or whatever, on internet things. And because the lifespan, I think the median time is like 12 months. Like it's definitely, I'm still hopeful for a cure and I'm still hopeful for like advances in things like, stem cell therapy and things like that. But it is a horrific diagnosis. And when I found out that she had it, I was just like, it's another horrific person to have this happen to so young. She's 49. My dad was at least 80. And it's just like, whenever I start feeling sorry for myself, I just think of like, there are kids that die of glioblastoma. It's horrific. And so I really don't like to feel sorry for myself if I, like, as much as I have control over. We all have our moments, but like, I really try not to.
And you're human. And I think that just to be kind to ourselves, if you have that bad day. Because yes, it is a choice to be happy. I had a chalkboard in my kitchen before all my kids went away to college, and it said, "Happiness is a choice."
It really is. Yeah.
And I would say it to them, and they're like, trust me, you'll learn. Since then, you have your babies. You did it.
Yeah.
And you are as vocal as ever. And I'm guessing more as confident as ever. You've continued to just grow. I know you believe he's watching over you.
I do.
What do you think he's saying right now?
He's like highly entertained by my life. Like, I think anytime I have to clean up like my kids' messes and because motherhood will get you on your knees because it's like that, it's like the most raw primal experience, like the act of giving birth, taking care of children. Like, it's not about you. There's no ego involved. At least for me, it's just like this very raw. I look like shit most of the time. I'm in sweatpants and no makeup and just trying to get through. I give it up to women who can put a full face of makeup on in the morning. I'm always just up with them, getting everything ready.
Only if I'm working. Otherwise, you're not getting that.
Same. But I think he's entertained by it. One of his best friends, Senator Joe Lieberman, died last year, and it's funny. I haven't felt his presence quite as much, and I've sort of been blaming Joe Lieberman because I'm they're probably having a blast in heaven or the afterlife, just catching up and whatever. And I was joking to my mom because I was saying normally I feel him a lot more, and I've just felt him a little less in the past year. And I was like, Mom, he's he's having the best time with Joe Lieberman.
Did he? Would they have beers? What would they be doing?
Vodka, yeah.
Vodka.
Yes. And it's but when I need to feel him, I do. And he's buried in Annapolis at the Naval Academy, which is actually a really beautiful drive from D.C. And this sounds very macabre, but the graveyard where he's buried is on a bluff overlooking the water in Maryland in the Bay, and it's gorgeous. So my tradition of going to, I try and go every 3 or 4 months. I try to bring my girls, or I go alone, and I bring flowers and pictures and his favorite vodka and things like that. And so the ritual of it isn't as dark of an experience as it could be because he's buried in this just visually spectacular place. Mm-hmm. So
did I tell you that I was also born in the Panama Canal Zone?
You did not tell me that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're the only other person I've met.
Literally.
On a military base?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fabulous.
Yeah. And so when I knew that about your dad 100 years ago, I was like, hey, Mom and Dad, check this out. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Maybe that's the first reason why I voted for him in 2008.
I know when you first told me you voted for him, I was like, that's amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, and I lived in Connecticut, by the way. So
you're probably getting your house egged.
Yeah, I had a sign. I didn't just vote for him. I had a sign.
I love it.
And I remember Halloween 2008, some friends of ours, some neighbors, they came up to knock on the door and the sign was right there. And they're like, are you serious? They were mad at me, and his wife never talked to me again. And we're all at the bus stop every day.
Oh my God.
I'm like, yeah. So that was kind of my first introduction really to how psycho people can be about having different opinions. But I remember some prominent people at ESPN coming up to me because they heard about the sign in my yard. And Twitter wasn't what it. Yeah. I mean, I think I joined Twitter in 2009,
I didn't think
so there wasn't even a thing.
Existed then. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. And I remember your dad was my kind of coming out party.
It's hilarious.
And especially driving around Connecticut with the McCain-Palin sticker on the back of my car. I had the bumper sticker.
But also, as a woman of color, I mean, the pressure from the Black community, I'm sure was just, because Obama was the first, obviously, Black president. I'm sure that was just fun for you too.
I mean, listen. I finally started writing my book, and please, that chapter.
I can't wait to read it.
About the Black community and how the double standard can exist with the hate that exists, and certainly not everybody. And you look at what happened in this last election and how more Blacks than ever, maybe in the last 50, 60 years, voted for this Republican candidate than,
it's wild.
Huge
really
numbers.
Turning the narrative on its head.
Yes, but I also think that, and I don't want to do politics much on this show anymore. But when Barack Obama was scolding Black men,
that's horrible.
A couple of weeks before the election,
horrible.
I'm like, this is the problem with you. And he did it when he was president too. Mm-hmm. And you are divisive, and you are helping create hatred and basically going against what Martin Luther King said. You're not judging Kamala Harris by the content of her character or just, God forbid, her policies or lack thereof, but by the color of her skin. If this were reversed,
oh yeah,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was actually shocked when he said that, when President Obama said that, because to be that sort of like tone deaf, and then you're clearly not really paying attention to like the tenor and tone of the country and sort of like the zeitgeist of politics, because it's, there's so much data and polling, and then just like cultural moments of like, not just African Americans, Hispanic people, Asian people, like the idea that just because you're a minority means you're going to have a home in the Democratic Party, that is long gone. But I think it's funny because the Obama bros, they have a podcast too. They seemed like but we're Obama's, like, but we sent Obama out, and like he's the coolest person that ever lived. So you have to vote for whomever he says. And what has been so fascinating for me, and I'm sure for you, just as like a political analyst, is the fallacy of the Obama's power, and what kind of power they still have was blown apart this past election. Yeah. They don't have the power to influence people anymore. They don't have the power to influence their Democratic caucus. They don't really matter in the same way they used to. And trust me, as someone with the last name McCain, I never thought I'd see that day. There was a certain point when, I remember when Congressman Lewis said that like my dad was like in the KKK because he was just running against President Obama. And again, I think if people want to know how we got here, you got to look to that.
You do.
You got to start there.
Correct.
With people saying things like that and saying that my dad was a member of the KKK because he was just the nominee against Obama. And I think it's just, for me, just again, like take all the politics out of it, just like $64,000 view, to see Democrats having to finally face and reconcile what they did and how they did it. And this is what happens. Trump is going to get elected again, and people are going to hate you, and you're the most unpopular you've ever been in the history of polling. Maybe take a look at the messaging you're sending to people. And I think part of it is yelling at Black people for not feeling like they have a place in a party where the majority of their leaders sound like they're teaching a political science course at Cambridge. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So said only like Meghan McCain can say it. But it was...
I'm gonna keep.
It's insulting.
Keep talking. It's so insulting.
It's so insulting. And because apparently, based on the color of our skin, we all think we're not smart enough to think for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what Barack Obama was saying when he was scolding those Black men. I think it was in Pittsburgh right before the election, and it was disgusting. It was just, I think, the first time that it was so blatantly out there for those people who have this love fest with him, who actually weren't fully paying attention from 2008 to 2016.
Yeah.
That's how I felt as a woman of color that whole time.
Yeah.
He lost a lot of people.
They did. And it's like I said, I really am happy that the coalition and the Republican Party is as interesting and diverse as it is. And I'm also really happy that, and I think this is coming from like Trump himself and the White House, they seem to be incredibly inclusive of people who were detractors of him for a long time. You see like Mark Zuckerberg in the White House with him, and they seem to just be like, if you like what we're doing, you're part of the team.
Yes.
And I think that's very powerful and dangerous for Democrats as well. And even like, RFK and Tulsi, like have big cabinet positions. Like it's wonderful. And
it's amazing.
I'm so happy about it. Everything about it makes me so happy and makes me feel safer and like just really optimistic about the future of the country.
I was at the UFC event a week after the election in New York City at Madison Square Garden.
You guys are so cool at your UFC.
Well, I brought my daddy. He was my date, remember?
Yeah.
I was like, Dad, this is going to be up close and personal, and you're going to have blood spattering all over, potentially on you. He loved it. And plus, he knows about, my friendship with Dana White, and I love Dana. And it was so cool for me to be able to introduce my dad to so many people, and Tulsi was there, and I was like, she's the one person I need you to meet, Dad, is Tulsi, obviously. But there was a picture. You guys are such
cool kids. Like going to the UFC fight with all these people. No, it's so cool. It's like,
I don't know if I'll ever go again. Like I'm just trying to take it, like you, trying to take advantage of these moments.
Totally.
Moments that I could never have imagined would be there. And really didn't want to, because the political thing was stay away. And then this is what happens when you stand up in 2020, 2021, and then life looks completely different. But the picture that I witnessed someone else taking, because it was right next to me, and it was Tulsi, and it was RFK, and it was Elon Musk, and it was Donald Trump. And it's like all four former Democrats who have come together, and now the leaders of the free world.
Yeah.
Like it's insane to see that happen.
I like it.
I do too. You know what it shows to me is that people can evolve.
Yeah.
People can change.
Yeah.
And your opinions can change based on what is or is not happening. Isn't that America? Isn't that what we're allowed to do, and to not criticize someone because they have had a change of heart. I also always push this, and I know you'll agree. Like when you are criticizing someone for their opinion or their stance, you don't know their story. You don't know their why. You don't know what they've been through, because the number of DMs I get about, look at you, you sell out, coon, all the, well, these are all, of course, people, of color who are, you're sellout, you're this, you're that, excuse my language, but I've heard this several times, you're a white dick sucking, da 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 da. Like next level from Black people, because of who I have come out, I guess, as a conservative.
There are a lot of Black Republicans on the planet.
Of course there are, but they don't want to think that. But I always say, they're like, oh, okay, well, that's because of this, or that's because you had a dad in the army. My parents never once told me who they voted for, ever. They wanted me to go do that research, and I did this by myself, and I'm smart enough, despite what you might think, to make that decision. But that should be the core of it. Our personal experiences shape our opinions on everything. And I will never now be silent on that, because there's so many people who just don't think of it. Like, let's be human. Yeah. And we were talking to one of your friends that came in with us, who thinks very differently from you.
My wonderful hair and makeup artist, Carmen.
Carmen, is that okay that we say it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's cool. She's amazing.
She's awesome. But and Carmen does not care about your stances. She loves you as the woman and friend.
For whatever it's worth, she's a Black woman. And she did my hair when I was at The View here in D.C. And she got a lot of shit for doing my hair. God. Like, there was Tiffany Cross, who's since been fired from MSNBC. Yes. If you just guys want to look it up on YouTube, she did an entire thing making fun of my hair.
She did. I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. And basically, and said that Carmen was culturally appropriating. Because I was playing around with a lot of fun hairstyles during COVID because I was so bored. And I was just like, have fun and like do whatever. And we did like fun braids and buns. And like, she's still a genius, by the way. Anyone that wants her, she did my hair today. Like, she's just like,
I need her.
She's incredible. And we're very close friends. And I remember at the time being so scared and hurt that this racial component was coming into, it was the first time that I was like, this isn't about what I'm saying, and it's not about what I'm doing. This is about a hair and makeup artist who is my dear friend, who makes me look and feel beautiful, who's also a very special person in my life, who is being attacked for doing a white conservative woman's hair. And like I said, Tiffany Cross, who I since was fired. And I think I don't really think that's what people are interested in watching on their Sunday news, but that's just me. I remember that was one of the few times that I was like, I cried about it afterward. I was so upset. I had to call and make sure she was okay. We had to talk about her. She's fine. She didn't give a shit. She didn't give a shit. Right. She actually ended up writing an article about it.
Oh, really?
Afterward, and doing an interview afterward. Yes, because she was just like, this is like ridiculous. And like, Meghan like lets me do whatever I want in my creative process. But it was the first time that I was like, I can't even believe that like people are threatened by a woman of color doing my hair. That like, this is the fucking world we're in. And I don't think that kind of thing would happen. Now, this was like 2020, height of like George Floyd, whatever. And it's just even stuff like that. Like, I don't think people understand like the amount of damage you have done. Like, maybe people just love each other and want to work together and have a good time. Maybe that's it. It's that simple.
And is that a problem? And good on her for standing firm, because a lot of people, sometimes understandably so, be like, Meghan, I love you. This is going to affect my bottom line. I can't do it. And
by the way, that's why she has a great career in DC, because people know that she doesn't care what your politics are. She just wants to make you look pretty. And so that's why she's still employed, doing everybody's hair and makeup everywhere, doing like big celebrities when they come in town and whatever. And, not a lot of other hair and makeup people don't. Like, you want to turn it into that. And I think for me, like, she's done like, again, so many other people I know. And I think for me, it's like, it's so important to me. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your worldview is, but we have to be respectful of one another. And I think just having that in general is so important. But I'll never forget that experience.
Well, because you don't want to ever, your presence to affect someone else's.
No. And I was worried she was going to get fired. Right. I was really worried that because again, you're throwing around cultural appropriation things about my hair. And like, I remember it was like this thing on the internet that she is a woman of color, and like I was so worried she was not fired, but it was definitely like a big thing.
Such a psycho crazy time.
It's horrible.
It makes me sick, and we got to keep speaking up. I don't know if I told you this, and you've probably heard it 100 times, But when you were at the White House in the Oval Office for Tulsi's confirmation.
Yes, wild, Sage. And for people that don't know, we went to Tulsi's confirmation hearing together and spent the day together. And
it was so special,
so much fun.
And I was so bummed I couldn't make it back for the actual confirmation. But I was like, well,
you were invited. Let people know Sage was invited.
Oh,
we
no,
were like, "Where's
I know. Of course,
we were like, "Where's the girl club? Where's the girl squad?"
I was so bummed, and I had something that I committed to do in Texas that 6 months ago, and I thought to myself, okay, for the toughest part, the most important part, where we were standing there praying together for her before it all began, her girl club was there, and most importantly, her family, etc. But it made me so happy to see you there.
I can't
for
believe
your
it.
friend, for your friend. And then I thought, this woman is the strongest woman I know. Because if anybody would have understood you not wanting to go in there and stand nearby Donald Trump after what he said about your father years ago, everyone would understand that. Why did you choose to go?
So my evolution with Trump is, I think, fascinating, but it is me, so whatever. Obviously, we've had this really intense blood feud with our families for a long time. And the Tulsi of it all has been a huge factor because we've been friends since before she ran for president as a Democrat. God, I've known her since 2016, a while now. And when I first met her and had dinner with her or lunch with her, we bonded really intensely, in the way kind of like I did with you. I feel like it's weird, my people kind of pick me. It's I have no time for you where I'm we have to be in each other's lives forever. Yes. And I have to see that's how it is. And I just really felt so seen by her. And at the time I was working on The View, and it's we're both controversial, misunderstood. People really love to make fun of us. At the time we were both going through fertility issues. I really felt seen and loved by her. And we became very close friends very quickly. And if you know Tulsi, she's very guarded. She keeps her circle tight. She's not a we're gonna be best friends with everybody person. So I still find it such a privilege that we're as close as we are. And when I found out, I wasn't surprised Trump won. Had he not said anything about my dad, I would have voted for him because obviously. I mean, I'm not. I mean, whatever. I just could never vote for Kamala Harris for a whole host of reasons. And so I didn't end up voting for him. I wrote my dad in, which people always think that's such a cop out, but I felt weird about it because I was just karmically, I don't know if my dad would be pissed. I don't know what, I just don't know. So when I found out that, because she went on the road with him and she went on the road with you. And at the time I remember, she was always telling me when she was endorsing whatever. And I was I love you. And I totally get it. And I just have this really bizarre, unique thing happen. So, right after Christmas, Ben got a text message from somebody in the White House, and it was the president has a message for Meghan. And I was what's a message? And he wrote me a really lovely letter, signed a tweet with a really nice note on it. It was a tweet I said about the Panama Canal, that I thought his stance on the Panama Canal was really important, and I do think we should take it back. And he was totally right. And he signed it and said thank you, Meghan. I don't remember exactly what he said. Thank you, Meghan. Thank you for your support. Good luck. From President Trump or something like that. And I was that's crazy. That's crazy. I remember being wow, that feels kind of a little bit of a peace offering. And then, I don't know what the off the record or on the record in these situations. But we had messages sent through channels that were very positive from the president to me. Yeah. And I was this is wild. And then I asked Tulsi, and she was he almost died. He's almost assassinated. He almost died. He had his ear blown off or, whatever. And not just her, but many people around him have told me that he has a different worldview right now.
Yes.
So I have experienced that certainly right now. And then when she was obviously nominated, I was so thrilled, and RFK, but really, her more because she's my girl.
Your girl, yeah.
And I was just so excited and so happy for her. And just honestly, from just a standpoint as an American, I'm very worried about terrorism. Very worried about did you see a MI8 gang member was just arrested here in Virginia near where I hang out? It's beyond my comprehension. I'm very fearful of it. So I know her in that role, how seriously she takes our national security. I just feel safe with her in that position. So from a personal standpoint, I was excited, but from just in a citizen standpoint, I was like, yes, this is the right person for this job. But I knew her confirmation was going to be hard. And a lot of people were like, she's not going to make it. She's not going to make it. And I was like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. She's going to make it. And, you know, we all supported her. I did like interviews, talked to people, like went, just tried to support her as much as I could. And that hearing was really hard because having to sit in front of hideous people say straight lies and slander and evil at your friend because they're threatened by the fact that she's going to come in and clean house and get the swamp people out and like make the world safer. I had a hard time with it. And I know you did. I know it was intense.
I was sitting right behind you and know you well enough to be reading your body language and you're like,
Abraham told his husband sitting next to me and he was like, I thought you were gonna like rip your earrings off and be like, hey, Senator Warner. Like it was off.
My heart was racing. I felt sick to my stomach at times.
Somebody behind me, someone asked, there was some question someone was asking over and over again, and then a senator asked it for like the 90th time.
Yes.
And I think it was you, but someone behind me whispered, Jesus Christ. I think it was you, but I'm not sure.
It was, you're right there. And I'm like, she has made it very clear what her answer is. I think they all just want to get on the record and get the clicks. Like, I don't know. It was the most frustrating thing I'd seen.
Yeah.
But, okay, fast forward. And then you're in that room.
So she makes it. Okay, so before I got to the room, Tulsi was like, I want you to be there with me. And I was like, I said, you don't need to do this. Like, I know you love me. I love you. You don't need to do this. And I was like, I really am touched that like you're making this like gesture and whatever. But I said, I tend to attract drama. Wherever I go, I tend to attract drama. And I don't want to bring drama to you in this moment. And I was like, I really don't want to I don't want to make anything except about you and your accomplishments right now. And she was like, you know, I love you. You have to be there.
Yeah.
She doesn't give a shit at all. And so what I found out later on was that Trump had to okay it. Because he has to okay everyone, any guest that's allowed in there. So he had to be like, Meghan and her husband are welcome in here, which is wild. Because honestly, if I were him, I don't know if I would have let me in the White House. I don't know if I would have.
You crushed him.
Yeah, I don't.
For a long time.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have. But I went in, and it was a very snowy, wet day. Went in, standing like 5 feet away from him, made eye contact with him a bunch of times. He was yelling after he did the swearing in ceremony. He was yelling at some of the reporters and like making fun of them. And I like had to control myself. I was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to laugh so hard. This is so funny. There was some French reporter there who was like asking some weird question. He goes, what outlet are you with? And he said like AFP. And he goes, what is that? And he goes, something French, whatever. And he goes, oh. And I was like, I love that about him. And I was like, it's like watching a comedian. So it was a really fun time. I cried the whole time when she was, I like couldn't handle it. I couldn't stop crying. So proud of her. And I can't believe I was allowed to come in. I can't believe it was all good. We had a wonderful time. Had, dinner for afterward. Did you have a one-on-one
moment at all with him?
I did not, but he wanted to. But there was like a scheduling issue. Because I was told, and it's not.
I don't know if he would tried have to do that. Or,
I would have again. Like I'm like a peacemaker, like whatever, and it's the president, like whatever. But we were like brushed out of the room quickly, and then I'd already left and whatever. But
I wonder, is that something that you would want at some point?
If President Trump was like, I would like you to come to this place, I wouldn't say no because he's the president. But I'm also not like I need to go in and be the president, whatever. But I have expressed to my family and to my friends because people have questions. They're like, how could you? How you're a sellout, whatever. And I'm like, I love what he's doing for the country. I love so many things this administration is doing. I'm grateful for it. I am grateful that right now my daughters aren't going to have to compete in sports against biological men. I am grateful for so many things the Trump administration is doing as an American. And my personal beef in the past and my loyalty to my dad will always be there. But I can compartmentalize things. I'm a nuanced adult. And I just feel like keeping hate and anger in my heart is not how I want to live.
Yeah.
I am a Christian woman. Forgiveness is a big part of my life. I forgive people who don't forgive me. And I just feel like as far as I can tell right now, we are on a different path. I do not foresee I would be really shocked if he did anything towards me or my family, because that's just not the tenor or the energy I'm getting from him or the White House. And a lot of people that work with him have just been so kind to me as well.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I can't believe they like care. I can't believe they care.
What do you mean?
Kind of like a washed up talk show host. I don't know.
Don't you dare.
I can't believe they care.
Don't you dare. I am bigger than you. I will kick your ass. Don't you ever say that. You're the opposite of washed up. You're obviously so relevant and so important and so needed. You love your friend. And that's as simple as that was.
But you know what's so funny? Tulsi's, her big thing is like peace. She's a peacemaker. She brings peace to the world, and she's aloha, and like she always wants to like keep peace everywhere. And I was like, you are the ultimate peacemaker. Like, I'm just joking with her after.
That's a great point.
If you can bring peace between McCain's and Trump's, like, send her to the Middle East. You know what I mean? Like, what an incredible thing for her to do.
What
for
did your mom say?
My mom was supportive. She understood too. My mother's like my mother is much more liberal than I am, and she voted for Vice President Harris. And I have one brother who voted for Vice President Harris and endorsed her. And my family's very split ideologically, but my mom's cool. She's mellow. She's not an angry person at all. And I did ask her beforehand. I asked her permission, and I made clear what was happening. And she was like, I know how much you love Tulsi, and I know how much she loves you. And she was just like, what an honor that Tulsi's including you. Yeah. And she was like, what are you wearing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's Tulsi.
I know. She was like, what are you wearing? So no, thank God. But my mom's very cool.
What a blessing.
Like, she's like, I don't really ever have to worry about her with stuff.
What a blessing.
Totally.
Okay, I'm running out of time with Meghan McCain. Real quick, if
good.
you brought it up.
I could talk to you for 30 hours.
I love you. And this is without
I'm just so
wine.
short. I have to keep
You're not. You're the cutest. By the way, she bought a name of socks.
Can I say
thank you?
Why would people not want to put the socks on?
I don't know.
It's so nice. To sit and do an interview in socks.
It's only been men who haven't wanted to. Okay,
so funny.
The first one who didn't was Billy D. Williams, because it was hard for him to because it was hard for him to bend over and do it. And I was like, I'm not going to disrespect him and say, let me take your shoes off. Who cares, actually? RFK did it last year, and I think he was even like, this is weird. Who's this chick? But he did it. And this is in like June, July. June. It was before. It was when he was anti-Trump and anti-Kamala at that point. Anti-Biden. Kamala wasn't even in yet. And then Matt Walsh. Dave Portnoy bitched about it when I asked him, but then he did it, and I love him. He totally did it. And then I had never even met Matt Walsh until he sat down, basically, and then we started by fighting, because I'm like, why do you wear your shoes in your house? You're disgusting. So that was how our conversation began. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, I should do this every interview I do. Everything I want to put these socks on.
No one has to see, unless you're with me, of course.
They're fabulous. I love them.
I'm so grateful for how open you are about everything. And I was pleasantly surprised that you chose to share about your miscarriages. I think so many women need to hear that.
I bet 3.
What was the 3, which I can't imagine one.
It's horrible.
Why did you want to speak up about it and share it?
Because fertility comes up in a lot of interviews I do, because I was open about my first one. And because it's the loneliest experience. Do you want to talk about a faith test? Miscarriages will do it too. I always want to make people feel less alone. Like, and maybe that makes me like a weird, like, I always feel like classy people that like society sort of admires are always the ones that are like, you don't know that much about them. And they're like, quiet and like icy, and like people are always interested in that. And I'm like so open about everything. I'm like such an open energy. I just want women to feel less alone. And for me, sharing always leads to healing in my life in general. Like, like fellowship with people always leads to healing for me. And I was ready to talk about it. And I'm 40. I'm really hoping I can have another child.
Are you?
I am. I really want to have 3. Yeah. And if I can't have 3, then my husband and I, one thing that's so cool about us is that on our first date, I found out that he was the oldest of 4 and his youngest sister was adopted. And I'm the oldest of 4 and my youngest sister's adopted.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird? And when I first met him, I was like, wow, this is special. So we're very open to adoption as well, obviously. So we're going to just like continue going down that path. I don't want to keep getting, I'm old. I'm like 40. Like, why didn't I get this in sooner?
Hot 40. It's okay.
Thank you. But I really would like to have 3 children if I can. And if I can't, then like I said, adoption's really like a high priority for us.
So you said it was a faith test.
It is a faith
Again,
test.
how do you climb out of that hole?
The last miscarriage was rough because it was just like I had to like have another procedure afterward, and my mom flew into town. She lives in Rome, and she flew like immediately to come be with me, and I was really sad for like a good month, like very sad. But then at a certain point, as you know, when you have, I'm blessed that I have been able to have 2 children. That energy they can pick up on it,
Yes.
and so I didn't want to be like sad mommy, you know, like. For them. And I also feel like I just don't wallow that long. I want to think about the fact that like there's still hope for me. Like there's still, you know, I'm healthy, and even if I can't, like adoption still, like there's so many paths in life, and you know, just praying a lot.
Yeah.
Time really heals everything. At least for me, it does. Time really heals a lot, and then because I'm open, I rely on people. I rely on friends. I rely on, and like I said, Tulsi, to her credit, and just like, keep bringing her up because you know her, like even in the job she has now, like she is always there for me. Like if I really need her, I mean, she like, you know, and not just for my other girlfriends as well. And like, I really lean on people when I need it.
Yeah.
And I want them to lean on me when they need it, you know, and I just feel like, I don't know. I don't like being sad, Sage. I hate feeling sad. I hate it. I don't want to be sad. I want to be in a dark place. And look, I was really sad, but like I went to my dad's grave. I talked to him, prayed. And then at a certain point, like sounds very trite. Because I'm a political analyst, I'm a commentator, something in the news will inevitably happen that absorbs my attention. And I'm and I'm so like much more interested in like that. And sometimes I'm grateful for like crazy, wild stories. Like I remember at the height of COVID, do you remember when that CNN analyst was caught masturbating on camera?
Gosh, on a Zoom? That was
Jeffrey
amazing.
Toobin. Yes. And I just remember being like, he's a disgusting pervert who, by the way, is still employed by CNN.
Well, the fact that they brought him back, didn't he go away for a minute and then they brought him back?
Like, still employed by CNN. You can masturbate in front of your colleagues and still be employed by CNN. What are we talking about?
I cannot.
But I was like, great. I mean, that's a disgusting thing. I even feel horrible for the people who are like literally exposed to that. But at the time I was like, it's true. No. But like, I was like, this story is like, making me laugh and scream and be like, what is happening in the world?
Yes.
And during COVID, it was like such an amazing distraction. So sometimes things like that, you're just grateful for
Yes.
I mean, he's a disgusting pervert. And Jeffrey Toobin, I need someone at CNN to explain to me how they still employ him.
As soon as they brought him back on, or maybe he was just, you know, on a little break, I was like, this is so low. Are there no other people that are worthy of is that all you got there?
There's no other legal analyst.
Times call for desperate measures, yes. But the fact that you use that as a distraction, she brings up the guy masturbating.
Yeah. Because during COVID,
you
know how COVID's like a blur for everybody?
Yes.
It's like Tiger King,
True.
Jeffrey Toobin. Like there's like certain flashes in my brain that I like remember from that. And that story is still like, and to me, he encompasses like the deep hypocrisy of cable, of like CNN and whatever that like, and again, there's not to like play this card, but there's like not a woman on the earth that could do that and still be employed. And like, is his
imagine?
No, I cannot.
No, we just come on without makeup and it's like, fire her.
I know. You like have one bad day and everyone's like, oh my God, she's like, whatever. But I don't know where I was going with this. Other than like roundabout, that also helps too.
Yeah.
Like, cause you know, commenting on news and work distractions is always.
And you can't half-ass this. You have to be, when you have that microphone in front of you, you have to be all in. And I imagine there is it does help to be able to compartmentalize a little bit.
It's like truth serum too. It's like, I always say like the camera and microphone is like, if you are not being authentically yourself or if you're lying, people will know immediately.
Oh, they know.
Yeah.
For sure. And don't you find that it's just easier? I mean, I feel like you've always been very authentic, but I have found that it's so much easier to just be you, and all of my quirks and things I would love to change. I'm like, okay, but I'm human. Like, not once in all the shows that I've done have I edited anything out, including when I called Dana White Joe Rogan. Like, you just have to leave it all.
Was he so mad?
He was not. He was cracking up because, and he had mentioned Joe's name twice earlier in the podcast. It was like, on my mind, and they both are bald white guys
heads,
with UFC.
Yeah,
they work together basically. I mean, Joe works for Dana for UFC. So anyway, I could have edited, but the reason I don't, my point for that story is because it's just easier to just, this is me. like good, bad, and ugly. And I actually feel like it is helpful, just like when, and this is much more important, what you're doing to share about your miscarriages. When people can see that human side, that human element, even if they disagree with you on things, I feel like they're going to be like, okay, I don't like that she says or does this, but she actually seems like a nice person. And to me, that is so important. Someone who, you know, again, these are my experiences. You don't know why I think the way I do, and you don't care to ask. So just, you stay over there. But I do think, and sharing about that, miscarriages, for me, it was sharing about my divorce. And I've not done it fully, and someday I will, just because I've, you know, 3 kids who are in college who, you know, you got to protect them a little bit. And even just the decision to speak up, which was so scary. Every single time I've shared, and I think probably with you, just the death of a parent, much less a parent that the world knew. Vulnerability is healing, not just for you, but for others. And for them to realize they're not alone. By you sharing this about not 1, not 2, but 3 miscarriages is healing. And it is a blessing to have this, right? I think, to be able to share. So many people don't.
I have a close friend who has had 4. And I met her because she married a good friend of mine, and he was my good friend. Then he married her, and I was like, oh my God, she's like the coolest chick ever. And just having a friend where I can talk about that. And I remember when I found out I was having my last miscarriage, just like FaceTiming her crying, having someone who like has so been there. So I feel like just being open about it, even if there's just some woman who's like, she's been there too.
Yeah.
And there's so much shame in miscarriages. There's so much like women don't want to talk about it. They don't want to, you know, there's nothing worse than, you know, being like, you know, I have fertility issues, because there's so much attached to women and our capability to bear children. And I don't know. And also just like, I'm a sharer. And like, you know, there's that old, I don't remember that. There's a famous writer, and she's like, everything is copy. It's kind of how I feel about life. It means like everything in your life can be used as like, you know, a conversation, a way to bond, a way to heal. And I'm a pretty open person, and to connect.
Connect with others. I think that's the thing is, if someone else, if your dear friend has happened to have known that pain. Yeah. And unfortunately, so many women have. But I'll shut up after this, but when I had my second and then third, I had postpartum issues big time. Yeah. And the first time, and I lived here in D.C. actually, the first time I didn't tell a word, not even my husband. I was so ashamed of the thoughts that were going through my head. And then it happened again. And this time I knew more what it was with number 2. And there was only like 21 months between them. Brooke Shields had come out with her book. And maybe that was my third, Down Comes the Rain. And when I read Brooke's book, I sobbed throughout it. And she saved me. Wow. Because I was so disgusted. I've never talked about this publicly. I was so disgusted with myself for the thoughts that were going through my head, not knowing that they were not in my control. And I didn't know why it was happening, but I damn well wasn't going to tell anybody, because they would lock me up, you know? And so randomly, like a year ago, she reached out to me. She saw a clip from one of my shows and just said, thank you. And I'm like sobbing, because it was Brooke Shields. Like, what? She's woman that, icon. I mean, for everything she's done and been through and has chosen to share, for me, that was it. And that was when Tom Cruise actually, came out on the couch on Oprah and just talking about...
Wasn't he like... Yeah, he said something horrible about her, right? Yeah, I don't remember. It's a while
about
ago.
Her, sharing about her experiences. And it's like her courage, just like yours, to share something so painful. Also, saving people.
Also, so much of it is chemical.
That's what
like in your body. And
I didn't know. And then when I shared with my mother, my mom and dad are still to this day my best friends. Like, I'm 52 and I need my mommy and daddy every day. Like, and I'm so blessed and grateful to still have them. But I called my mom when I was like afraid that anyone else was going to judge me and lock me up. My mother, when she had me in 1972, said, oh my God, it happened to me too. But in 72, there's no way you're sharing that with anybody. Totally. So it all came back for her, which made me realize maybe it is somewhat genetic too. Like, I don't know. But Brooke Shields, like, by doing that, by writing a book, not just saying, like, by writing a book and putting it out there when there's so much shame and the thoughts that are going through your mind that you could potentially hurt your child. Yeah. Like, it's It's a whole thing.
No, I have a lot of friends who have experienced it too. And I had postpartum anxiety, which is different than postpartum depression. And I was like so paranoid that if I had like images and thoughts of like, it's irrational, but like ninjas breaking into our house and stealing my child. Like I was like, I could not let anyone else take care of her or be around her. Like I had to like do everything. And I was diagnosed with it by my daughter's pediatrician because I had to like fill out a thing when we brought her in for one of her checkups, and she was like, you need to talk to someone. And then I went to my OBGYN and et cetera. And I went on medication. It was okay. But there's so much, I feel like part of the problem with like our culture that we're in is like, it's okay if things aren't perfect. And having a baby is very intense and it's very scary. And just the physical part of it and the emotional part, mental part of it. And it's like, I just wish we would give women and new moms more grace in these situations, especially in things like that. I have a friend who had postpartum as well, very severe. And she felt like a monster, you know, and she's not. She just had, you know, chemical issues with her hormones. And
we don't understand even as women. I mean, I think now more so, especially with the internet. My first was born in 2002. So it was like a whole different world without the internet. But what happens when you create a human and it grows in you for 10 months, guys, not 9. It is 40 weeks, not 36. Don't shortchange us a month, please. Like all the hormones and what, like your entire body is changing. And it takes a long time, a full year, I believe, to get back to what it was.
Too, to feel like fully myself again.
Yes.
Like whatever that's worth. Like
yes. And to be kind to ourselves while we're going through that process. And then in my case, going back to work 8 weeks later.
I can't believe you did that.
But I didn't know any different. And when my boss came to me and said, if you want this job to cover this team, it is. But I didn't know. And it was a different time and no one talked about it. And as a woman, like, and in a man's world and covering football.
Did you bring your baby with you? No.
No.
Gosh, Sage, that's crazy.
And it was her 8-week birthday, the day that I drove away to go drive up to Ravens training camp. And so my husband quit his job to stay home full time. And then that's what he, you know, did forever after that. He was on the front porch with her. And, you know, she's a peanut. She's this big. And he took her little hand and went like that and waved to me. And I drove around the corner and pulled over and just sobbed. And I'm like, I'm the worst person. I'm the worst mother for driving away. I had mastitis. So I had major issues with nursing. So I was pumping 24/7. First kid. So you're totally clueless. Devastating. But again, it's fine. My experience, if I share it, will help other women. Again, it's a different time now, but not be as willing to be like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. My daughters, like, I say this to them all the time. Don't waste my pain.
Yeah.
Please don't waste my pain.
That's a really powerful statement.
Any of it. Your heart, who you choose to give your heart to.
Totally.
Your voice, all these things where I lived in fear my entire life. So that's where I want to end with you because you've got these two beautiful babies. Well, final question.
Sure.
See, I'm not going to cry. I've never shared it, but that's your fault because you bring it out of me.
It's really important and it's beautiful.
I know. It's just like you don't think about it because it was so long ago, but sometimes it comes up.
A lot of people.
Yeah, and I probably need to talk more about it because of that. I still have that vision in my head of what was going through my mind one night standing over her crib and what could have happened. You know, it's awful.
Again, it's very common.
It is, but we didn't know that then.
Yeah.
So thank you, Brooke Shields. But
I love Brooke Shields.
I'm obsessed. I was always obsessed for the obvious reasons, just because I love to stare at her.
I just watched her documentary and it was very intense.
I need to.
It's very intense. The things that woman has been put through by Hollywood and in life in general.
And how she endures.
She played a prostitute when she was 12 in a movie. Yeah. Didn't know that.
Hi, adults in the room.
Yeah, and anyway, it's incredible she's as well-adjusted as she is.
And again, so willing to have the courage to share.
Yeah.
Your girls have an incredible mama. And when it comes to not wasting pain, like I was saying, which I thought was kind of a brilliant thing I need to patent or something.
You need to put that on a t-shirt. Don't waste my pain.
Don't waste my pain, guys.
Please. That could also be your book title.
I thought about that.
Good.
I thought about that because it's legit. Please don't waste my pain.
It's like
and it sounds dramatic because I haven't had nearly as much pain as so many in my life, including you. I have not had it. It's just it's my story though. Yeah. No sense in ranking them, but like your girls are witnessing every day, even at young ages. They're how old?
4.5 and 2.
2 babies. They're still witnessing their mom's strength. So I have a feeling they're going to be just like you, even if that means being rebellious in high school, because they will have only seen this version of you. My kids, it took them forever till they're in their late teens to see their mom evolve and finally find her voice. With you, like they have no choice. What do you hope that they take from your pain? The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
What do I hope they take? Oh my gosh. My oldest is really strong. I don't know if she's like a COVID baby or what. Like she's just wild and strong. Her name's Liberty, and she's just very. So cool. Thank you. She's very intense. Tulsi's goddaughter, and she's just very like I don't worry about her in the world. And my little one is like just this like very like whimsical, earthy. Like fairy, very sensitive, loves dancing and music, and like needs to be cuddled all the time.
Yeah, love that.
What do I want them to take away? I really want them to, as much as possible, I really worry about like the impact of just like this like toxic culture we're in so many ways. I really hope I can somehow instill on them like that there is no need to waste time on the small things and garbage and people that don't matter. And when people are saying nasty things about you, it is a reflection on them. And it's not a reflection on who you are. So I think I just want to make them as like, I want to give them as like wholesome of a life as I can, but teach them enough lessons so that they can be launched in the world prepared.
Yeah.
And I think that's every parent's, journey and challenge. But parenting's gnarly. It just is.
So gnarly.
It's gnarly. It just is. And like, I hear my dad so much in the things I say sometimes and do, like him in particular. And I just hear like things that I can't believe how much I've turned into my parents. It's so crazy. And I don't know. Parenting advice is hard for me because every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new, every day something happens and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do we say to her? What do we do to make sure like, she knows she's loved, but we're also teaching her a lesson. Right now, she's trying to sleep in our bed every single night. It's the worst. And she was so sleep trained for so long. And then she got sick. And then she just like slept in our bed when she was sick and then just stayed. And Ben and I are having like, I feel like I can take on the craziest people on the planet and I cannot get this child to sleep in her bed right now. Yes. I cannot get her to go back in her bed. Yes. I can't do it. I cannot.
What do you mean you can't?
I put her back in. She comes back down. We live in a 3-story house, and like she comes back down the middle of the night, comes in our bed.
Is she in a crib?
And like, no, she's in bed.
In a bed.
And
okay,
like comes back down, and then I'll be like, cuddle her. She falls asleep. We carry her back to bed when she's asleep. Same freaking thing. Like I cannot. Anyone who has any advice, please give it to me. I'm like literally on my knees with this right now. I don't want to be someone respectfully who sleeps with their kid every night. It's crazy.
No, it's not good for your marriage.
It's not. And I also I want to watch The Housewives. I want to stay up later because I am the adult.
Have you tried bribery?
I have tried. You can't even we're at the point where she really wants a cat, and I was like, maybe if we get a kitten, she'll stop.
Are you crazy?
I know, we're not gonna do that.
That's how desperate you are.
So I just don't know what with parenting advice, it's like I'm still figuring it out every day with the best of us. So I don't know if I'm a person to give great advice right now.
Well, it isn't even advice. It's about just what you hope they take. And mine are almost 19, 21, 23. And they say, okay, bigger problems. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Is it?
Oh, it's true. No, they're wonderful human beings. I could not be more proud. But their crap is real crap now.
Yeah.
And then the oldest is graduating from college in May and has a good lead on a job. And it's like, oh, my gosh, where's she going to live? And there's a possibility in Atlanta and Nashville. And I'm like, okay, here's where you can't live and here's where you can. And here's why. And then, oh, my God, is she going to take the trash out at night? Like the stuff that my mother used to yell at me for. Do not take the trash out at night. Lock your windows. I'm like, Mom, stop it. I know. Guess what? Just like you said that you're your dad now, you hear your father.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happens, but the problems get bigger.
Yeah.
And so,
this
whole time.
I just want them to live in my house forever. I'm just kidding. I
oh
love
my God.
them. I get so sad when they're like, I've switched so much of my job in the past few years because I want to be around them as much as possible.
Which is awesome.
Even when I travel for work for a few days, I'll be like, I'm so excited to sleep in a hotel room alone, order room service, whatever. And then like I get to my hotel and I'm like, I want to FaceTime. I miss them. I
want the snotty kid in between me and my husband at midnight. That's perfect.
Taking Sage, it's really like, it's so embarrassing.
No,
I
it's
never
not.
thought I'd be that person.
It's so real.
It's
I don't know
me
one family
crazy.
that has not happened to. Some sort of sleep issue.
It's making me crazy. It's making me crazy. I cannot figure it out.
Just don't do the cat.
Okay.
Okay.
She really
promise
wants
me,
one.
Vanessa. Don't let her do the cat.
I'm not getting a cat. I'm really not getting a cat. Whatever that's worth. So.
I'm going
not
to
getting a cat.
pray.
I got a cat.
I'm not getting a cat. I'm not getting a cat. Say it with me.
I'm not.
I'm going to pray for this third baby, whatever that looks like.
Thank you.
Whatever that looks like,
Thank
you know.
you.
And I will say, I felt whole at 3.
You did?
I did.
Girl, I would have had 6 if I could have.
I would have too if I hadn't
Like-
been the one working. Honestly,
Like, yeah.
I would have too.
My biggest, actually, some advice for any woman listening is like, if you think you want to have kids, I'll put it off too long. Don't do it. If you want to have babies and you're ready to have a family, that means you're like 23, fine, great, whatever.
Yeah.
Because fertility is a real thing.
Yes.
Like eggs do get older and things do happen and there's biological stuff women have to deal with that men will never have to.
It's a fact.
And I wish I had been a little less defiant and naive about it than I had been. But right after my husband and I got married, my dad got sick. So that's like a good, year and a half, whatever, that's like blown out the window in my early 30s because I could barely take care of myself. I couldn't have taken care of a child then. But my advice to women is like, you want to have babies, get after it because you can miscarry. You can it's not a straight line.
I love it when people always have a plan. By the time I'm 32, I want to have 2 kids or start having my first. I'm like, okay. You think you're in control of it. And
not.
In some ways, fine. For the most part, you're not. And I also always say, because this was a iffy, I wanted 4. My ex-husband wanted 2. And
So
we do have control. I do feel like I won, thank God, of course, because you can. But I always say to women and men, if you think maybe, absolutely do it.
Yeah.
You never regret having one.
Yeah.
Another, but you might if you don't. And most people tend to regret if they don't do it. You never want to send them back. For an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you can never imagine. And I have a cousin who, former military, no money, you're not getting rich in the Army, 5 kids, private Catholic schools.
Wow.
They have figured it out.
Yeah.
And they cannot imagine their life without that 5th unplanned. You know what I mean?
I'm so envious of people with 5 kids.
Me
and
too.
things.
I regret it terribly. So one way or another, but I will say that prayer for you.
Thank you.
But thank you for praying for me when I didn't even know.
Thank you.
And for just being you and inspiring me long before we ever met. That big mouth is a beautiful thing.
I guess.
And we need more of it, but I love you and thank you.
love
And I'm just
you.
going to come because my babies don't like me. I'm just going to come crash in your house.
You can come.
I won't get in
anytime.
between you and Ben.
Ben will freak out.
in the
He
bed.
loves you so much. Ben will be like, oh my God. But I just want to say one more thing. You really are I know I said at the beginning, but you're Sage, you're such a beautiful person on so many different levels. And you bring so much, every room you enter, you just are so effervescent. You bring so much light and joy. Everybody loves you.
No, that's not true.
Everybody,
It's okay.
Everybody I care about loves you. Not opinion I care about.
That we care. No, that means it means the world. I think for so long, especially as young women in a certain generation, you're such a pleaser, and I'm getting over that disease finally.
You don't seem that way to me.
Oh no, I still am in some ways, but the most important ways no longer. It just took almost half a century, and it was worth the fight. And again, now I know what to say to my kids and my girls in particular. Here's what I did well, and here's what I really did not do well through, just not being prepared yet and not having the confidence. And I will kick their butt if they don't use some of that advice. At the same time, we do need to allow them to get hurt.
Yeah.
And to experience it on their own.
Hard
and
for me,
not,
but
oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh, and trust me, Mama Bear comes out. And I will cut someone. I will go to prison. I don't care. And my son, by the way, is 21. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. I can do nothing.
Yeah.
But if a woman or girl, I will cut her.
Yeah.
Watch me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I believe you.
So there in some ways now, I'm probably overdoing it. But it's just a journey. And by the grace of God, I'm here and able to talk to you. And so
Well,
Thank you.
No, thank you. I love you. You're the sparkle. I'm going to call you that forever, but I really.
Is that my new nickname?
You are.
Sparkle.
But you're such a blessing. Like, you are. I adore you. Okay.
We're going to agree on this one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. You really do. You are.
You're the best. Okay, stay there so I can like hug you.
Oh,
Can
yeah,
I get
thank you.
Can I get a picture?